We have clarified the way that we're handling transportation investments, and using our existing Oregon Transportation Commission, and it calls for the creation of a biennial plan that will be vetted by a number of groups. And then any revenues that are in the Transportation Decarbonization Fund would be allocated on a project basis that would roughly split 50-50 projects that are state projects and those that are local. Local meaning, county or city or region. And also we expect a pretty equal split between those that are focusing on carbon reduction and those that are focused on adaptation to the effects of climate change. And those are probably going to be more of the rural projects, culverts, stabilizing hillsides, stabilizing
highways, for example, that may be sliding into.
Correct. Yeah.
Along the coast. This was some feedback we received mostly in the building, and from cities and counties along the way who have been participating as part of their legislative process all session. They wanted to understand how they would be able to access these funds and utilize these funds to prepare for climate change. And we heard loud and clear that they're seeing impacts differently within the infrastructure that they are in charge of maintaining and repairing. But this will provide also some technical assistance for our smaller geographies who may not have the in-city department expertise to prepare their own plans yet. This will provide them with some assistance and some folks who will be able to be a resource for them at the state level. And I think to my good co-chair's comment, we see this showing up in both similar and different ways, but it will help us to both ready our state level systems and provide competitive grants to our local partners so they can look systematically at how they get people from point A to point B and what are the weaknesses in their systems vulnerable to massive flooding, to unexpected snowfall events that create giant potholes in roads and things like that are important to transportation. Things that we are already seeing, but for which there's not really a dedicated pot of resources to go to.
Yeah, and in the urban areas, where we see more investments in things that make it easier to walk, to rely on transit, things that were many proposals that were partly met in the 2017 transportation package, House Bill 2017, but there were a lot of projects that were left on the table. And in areas like safe routes to schools and creating infrastructure for bus rapid transit, those kinds of things. Those are areas that we see as likely investments under this, and local people are very excited about that. I will say also, just on a related note, that one of the things you'll see in the amendments, the -31 amendments, is further clarity on on the process for investment decision making. Making it clear that the legislature remains in charge of these, that we will be using our regular appropriations process. Proposals will go into the governor's budget, which will then be vetted by the Standing Joint Committee on Climate Action, and then go through the Ways and Means process for final distribution. We want to make sure that this work has a fully public vetting process.
Yes, and can I put a finer point on that? So I think within the 2017 transportation package that our colleagues spent years on, there were a number of things that simply traditional transportation funds are not used for, like the culverts and others. So, less, for us, we see the benefit of this program as a companion to your sort of traditional maintaining, repairing investments into the grid system. But within this transportation sub-account and working on decarbonization, looking at how else we can reduce transportation emissions generally while preparing our essential systems for the impacts of climate change.